Most of us live in environments that are physically safer than at any other point in human history. Yet, on any given Tuesday, you might feel a sudden, crushing wave of panic tightening in your chest. Your body reacts to a demanding boss or a surprise utility bill as if an apex predator has just entered the room. Your heart rate spikes, your breathing shallows, and your survival instincts take over. Operating beneath your conscious awareness is a biological algorithm, a deeply embedded brain code. Its entire job is to scan your surroundings, interpret the slightest shifts in your environment, and dictate a behavioral impulse to keep you alive. That code has been written and edited over millions of years of evolution. But because our physical environment has shifted drastically in just the last few centuries, the software is now misinterpreting the data. To figure out why we experience this constant underlying stress, we have to look past our modern circumstances, go straight into the human skull, and inspect the ancient hardware running the system. Zoom in on human brain tissue, and you'll find about 100 billion individual neurons. These long, wiry cells branch out via connections called axons to link with other neurons, creating a dense network mapped with trillions of individual pathways. As life evolved, nature didn't replace old anatomical structures with new ones. Instead, it built directly on top of the existing foundation, accumulating additional parts layer by layer. This diagram shows a cross-section of the human brain. Right in the center is the oldest part of our anatomy, a structure we share with the very first fish. It's referred to as the deep brain, or the subcortex. The subcortex processes thousands of incoming stimuli every second to maintain visceral homeostasis, meaning it regulates your internal body systems to ensure you simply stay alive in the here and now. It operates purely on present moment survival, without what we'd call conscious awareness. Starting much later in the evolutionary timeline with early reptiles, a new area developed. This is the cerebral cortex, an outer layer that wraps entirely around that ancient deep brain. The cortex allowed creatures to look beyond immediate survival. It processes incoming stimuli and resulting behaviors to plan for a day, a week, or a year into the future. It's the hardware responsible for our ability to use language, learn complex skills, and find deep meaning. In humans, this outer layer grew so expansive that it could no longer fit inside the standard volume of a skull. The tissue was forced to fold in on itself, creating the characteristic ridges and grooves you see on the surface. We are effectively operating with two parallel systems competing for resources, an ancient deep brain reacting strictly to the present moment, surrounded by a modern outer brain planning for tomorrow. To keep these competing layers synchronized, the brain processes activity across 4 distinct operational channels. The first is the motor channel, which sends the signals required to physically move your skeleton. The second is the sensory channel, gathering and processing raw data from the external environment. The third is the cognitive channel, where complex mental functions and conscious thoughts occur. And the fourth is the supervisory channel, constantly monitoring and adjusting your internal organs and physiological states. Your biological algorithm is constantly reading the data flowing through all 4 of these channels at once. It scans the nuances of your environment, searching for the slightest hint of danger so it can trigger a behavioral response. Here is where the mismatch occurs. The ancient code running your subcortex cannot distinguish between the sensory input of an approaching predator and the cognitive input of rising inflation. The panic you feel over an unread email is simply your prehistoric fish brain doing exactly what it was designed to do millions of years ago, flooding your body with stress hormones to save your life. This clash between a future-oriented outer brain and an ancient, threat-obsessed inner brain often leaves us feeling caught in a loop of biological anxiety. But those trillions of connections between your neurons aren't static. Throughout your entire life, neural pathways are continuously detaching and forging new physical connections based on your experiences. The brain initiates this physical restructuring whenever it determines that a new neural configuration would better serve your long-term survival. This means that while our reflexive survival instincts are deeply rooted, the physical network itself is designed for adaptation. We can influence this process by providing the brain with clearer data about what actually constitutes a threat in our current environment. By using the analytical power of the cortex to evaluate the alarms sent by the subcortex, we begin to feed the algorithm new information. When we consciously recognize that a social rejection or a financial deadline lacks the immediate lethality of a physical predator, we provide the evidence the brain needs to start prioritizing different, less reactive pathways. It is a gradual biological shift. While we cannot erase our evolutionary history, our brains are physically built to recalibrate, eventually aligning our ancient survival instincts with the reality of the modern world.